Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a really fascinating journey into the core of Unreasonable Hospitality.
Mm.
It's based on Will Guidara's book of the same name. And for you, our listener, especially if you shared this interest, we're aiming to pull out the key ideas that honestly go way beyond just restaurant tables.
Yeah, definitely. It's much more than just a manual on how to run a successful restaurant, though it certainly
Yes.
has that element.
Right.
The Library of Congress actually catalogs it under
Yeah.
like customer service strategy, the philosophy of hospitality itself, corporate culture, even management. So it's quite broad.
Exactly. A really diverse set of insights for us to chew on. And Guidara's track record, I mean, it speaks for itself, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Especially his role in transforming 11 Madison Park.
Absolutely huge.
But just to be clear up front, this isn't only about Michelin stars and fine dining. Right?
No, not at all. And actually, right at the beginning of the book, Simon Sinek's letter sets a really crucial frame.
Oh.
He talks about this growing sense of isolation people feel today, that deep, innate human desire we all have to, belong somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it positions unreasonable hospitality not just as like a smart business tactic, but maybe even as a way to address that really fundamental human need.
And that's basically our mission for this deep dive with you. We want to unpack the main ideas of this unreasonable hospitality thing and figure out how you can potentially apply them.
Yeah, in your world, whatever that looks like.
Right. How can these concepts help make the people you interact with feel, well, like they truly belong?
And it really boils down to a crucial distinction Guidara makes right away. He says service is the functional part, the transactional bit.
The black and white.
Exactly, the black and white as he puts it. But hospitality, that's where you add the human touch, the emotional connection. That's the color.
The color. I like that. Okay, so let's really dig into this core idea for you, starting with the name itself. Unreasonable hospitality. It's kind of provocative, isn't it? Where did that actually come from?
Well, this is fascinating, right? Because initially, that word unreasonable, it was meant to shut down a conversation.
Oh, really? Like, that's unreasonable. We can't do that.
Precisely. To label an idea as totally impractical. But instead, it kind of flipped. It became this rallying cry, a challenge to think way bigger.
Huh. It makes you think about, game changers in any field. Serena Williams, Walt Disney, Steve Jobs. They all had visions people probably called unreasonable at first.
Totally. They saw a world that just didn't exist yet.
Right. Believing in something beyond the current limits.
And at 11 Madison Park, they'd always celebrated the chefs for being unreasonable about the food, right?
Yeah.
The pursuit of perfection.
Makes sense.
But then came this kind of light bulb moment.
Mm.
What if they were just as unreasonable about how they made people feel?
Ah, okay. That shift.
That shift in focus, yeah. That's what really set them apart. And it's a powerful lesson, I think, for anyone looking to make a bigger impact on others.
It does strike me, though, that in today's work culture, everything's hyper-rational, hyper-efficient. Sometimes these crucial human connection skills get a bit overlooked, maybe even undervalued.
Well, it raises a really important point, doesn't it? Especially with how digital everything's become. There's a real concern, I think, that the human element gets kind of sidelined.
Mm-hmm.
The focus is so often on optimizing the product, streamlining the process,
Yeah.
sometimes forgetting about nurturing relationships, both with employees and customers.
Yeah, and it's true. You can't always put a direct ROI on making someone feel genuinely good, can you? But you just know it creates positive ripples.
Absolutely. And this wasn't just recognized within restaurants. Guidara talks about the Welcome Conference he started.
Right.
Initially, it was mostly hospitality folks. But by the third year, you had leaders from tech companies, small business owners, real estate execs, all sorts showing up.
Wow.
They realized there was huge value in learning about hospitality for their businesses. They got that how they engaged was just as critical as what they offered.
It just keeps coming back to that basic human need for connection, doesn't it? And I really like this idea in the book that practicing hospitality is also a selfish pleasure. What's your take on that?
Yeah, the intrinsic reward, right? It honestly does feel good, personally, to make someone else's experience better.
Totally.
And that satisfaction can be a really powerful, sustainable motivator for individuals, for whole teams. Think about times you've gone out of your way for someone. How did you feel afterwards?
Yeah, good point. Okay, so let's shift to some of his early influences. He talks about this really vivid memory, his 12th birthday dinner at the Four Seasons. That must have been quite the introduction to fine dining.
Oh, yeah. It definitely painted a picture of, like, aspiration and pure excellence. And he points out its historical weight.
How so?
Well, it was the first truly American fine dining place. You had icons like James Beard, Julia Child involved early on. JFK celebrated his birthday there. It was a landmark.
Wow, okay.
It really represented the peak of American culinary ambition back then.
But then he contrasts that really beautifully, doesn't he? That grand formal thing with something so personal, his mom waiting for him after school, even when she was really sick.
Yeah.
That simple act, her smile, it just hammers home that a real welcome isn't about the fancy stuff, is it?
No, that anecdote just gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? Pure hospitality. It's not about fancy rooms or high prices. It's just about making someone feel seen, feel valued, feel cared for, whatever the setting.
And then the story about his college band playing just for his mom at Willard Straight Hall.
Yeah.
That gesture and picturing her smile lighting up the room, you can really feel the impact that had on him. Makes you think about what small gestures we could make, right?
It really shows the power of that personal touch, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Going the extra mile to create a moment that means something specific to that person, showing you're thinking just of them.
It seems like Cornell really cemented these ideas for him, too. He talks about Giuseppe Pizzoritti's guest chefs class, which wasn't just spreadsheets and business plans, but focused on the art of hospitality, like even learning to peel a grape with a fork and knife. What do you make of that kind of emphasis today?
Well, it's interesting that focus on the artistry, the heritage. It suggests hospitality as a craft, something to be cultivated, refined, not just a checklist of procedures. There's a human touch, a grace that goes beyond just being efficient.
But then he grounds it again with his time at Glenwood Pines, just this casual spot where the goal was simply making sure people had a good time.
Wait.
No fancy techniques, no stuffiness, just connection and good, simple food. How does that contrast help us understand unreasonable hospitality?
I think that contrast is super valuable. It shows hospitality doesn't have to mean pretentious or exclusive. It can be totally authentic, straightforward, just making people feel comfortable and happy where they are.
Right.
The unreasonable part then becomes about the level of genuine care you bring, not necessarily how fancy it is.
And then, of course, that hilarious story about his distinguished guests asking where they could find some weed after dinner.
It just adds a dose of reality and humor, doesn't it? Keeps it from being too highbrow. What's the takeaway there about just being human?
It's a great reminder, I think, that even in formal settings, you gotta let the human element shine through. There's always room for the unexpected, for a shared laugh, for seeing the actual person in front of you. Keeps things from getting too stiff or fake.
Okay, now shifting to a tougher part of his story, something I think a lot of us can relate to on some level, his mother passing away right around his college graduation.
Yeah, that was clearly a deeply difficult time. He talks very movingly about his cousin Liz being there for him. But then in the midst of that grief comes this incredible act of hospitality from Chef Daniel Boulud and his team. It just shines a light on empathy and action.
Right, that story about the amazing meal at Daniel, the unexpected late-night tour, and then no bill, just gone. That's such a powerful example of compassion, way beyond any transaction. It's so significant, isn't it, how that gesture wasn't just professional courtesy. It was deeply human, offering comfort, a moment of grace during intense sadness. It really shows how hospitality can genuinely touch people, support them in unexpected ways, seeing beyond the surface.
And he mentions learning this guiding principle from his father, the idea of intention.
Yes.
That every single decision, no matter how small it seems, matters. It contributes to the whole picture. How can we apply that kind of intentionality?
That idea of intention runs right through the book, and it's a powerful one to adopt, I think. It's about being conscious, being purposeful in every choice, even the little ones. Always thinking about the impact you want to have, making people feel welcome, valued, cared for, and letting that guide you.
It's interesting looking back at his early goals, Cornell's hotel school, wanting to open a restaurant in NYC, and the jobs he took, Baskin-Robbins, Spago.
Right, building that foundation.
Clearly a focused vision early on. What's the lesson there?
Well, that exposure to all sides of the business, from scooping ice cream to fine dining, it gave him this really practical, ground-up understanding. It highlights the value of getting diverse experiences, right? Builds a solid skill set.
And his dad's initial worry about him committing so young, the concern about arrogance, that's relatable parent stuff, isn't it? How do you balance that with encouraging ambition?
Yeah, it underscores needing humility, needing to keep learning, no matter how much you know. It's a reminder that growth isn't just about knowledge, but also perspective, avoiding getting cocky. foster the ambition, but ground it in development.
But his dad's advice ultimately led him to table the idea of learning the ropes at the high end first, so you can always take it down a notch later if needed. What's the wisdom there for career building?
That was really smart advice, I think. It emphasizes building that strong foundation of excellence. If you understand and internalize the highest standards, you're adaptable. You can apply those principles effectively anywhere. It's about knowing best practices deeply, then tailoring them.
Which brings us neatly to Tabla and working with Chef Floyd Cardoz. He paints such a great picture of Floyd's passion, that almost childlike wonder he had in the kitchen. What's the effect of that kind of leadership?
Oh, Floyd's enthusiasm, his dedication, it clearly rubbed off on everyone. Guidara describes people literally straightening up, smiling just when he walked by. It shows the power of authentic leadership, right? Your own passion can be incredibly motivating.
And then Randy Grudy, the GM there, who went on to lead Shake Shack, his positive energy sounds like it was a huge force. How important is that kind of vibe in customer service, or really any team?
Randy really had that mix, didn't he? High energy, but also strong ethics, which is kind of the Union Square Hospitality Group's signature. His constant optimism, even if maybe a bit much sometimes, it was incredibly influential on morale, on how the team approached things. It just shows the impact a positive mindset can have on dynamics, on performance.
I love that quote from Randy. Trying to make today the very best day of my life. That daily intention, it can be infectious, right? How do we cultivate that?
It really can.
Yeah.
And Randy also built ownership in the team by genuinely trusting their judgment, empowering them. That highlights the power of delegation, of trust. When people feel valued, have autonomy, they invest themselves fully.
Which leads right into Danny Meyer's famous enlightened hospitality concept. And specifically, this idea of giving guests the charitable assumption, especially when they're being difficult. That's a big shift for many people, isn't it? How do we actually do that?
Yeah, it fights that instinct to get defensive, right? Or dismissive. Instead, it pushes you towards empathy, towards thinking, okay, maybe there's something going on I don't know about that's making them act this way.
So pause before reacting.
Exactly. Pause, breathe, try to see it from their side first.
And the value they placed on shared language, shorthand within the team, to make hospitality smoother, that makes total sense in a fast-paced place. How does having a common vocabulary help other teams?
Well, it just creates efficiency, right? Better coordination, especially under pressure. For any team, having clear, common terms minimizes confusion, lets everyone focus on the real goal, meeting the client's or colleagues' needs.
It's interesting how Danny Meyer's meetings weren't just about rules, but explaining the why behind company phrases, like a culture orientation. What's the gain from that deeper understanding versus just memorizing procedures?
It builds much deeper buy-in, I think.
Yeah.
When people get the reasoning behind the values, the procedures, they're more likely to internalize them, apply them authentically, not just follow rules blindly. So communicating the why is key for real engagement.
His father's advice, again, consider bigger restaurant groups for broader experience, but also recognize the unique learning at Danny Meyer's smaller company then. Complex career choices, right? And he brings up being restaurant smart versus corporate smart. Can you unpack that a bit?
Yeah, it highlights the different skill sets, different perspectives, often valued on the operational frontline side versus the more administrative, strategic side in a bigger corporate structure. Excelling in one doesn't automatically mean excelling in the other. You need different strengths, different knowledge in each.
Which he then experienced directly working for Honey, managing all those daily reports accounts, payable, receivable, payroll. Sounds like a real crash course, a boot camp and business school combined. What's the value in understanding that operational side, even if it's not your main focus?
Well, it gave him this incredibly deep understanding of the financial realities, right? The nuts and bolts that make any business run. Getting into those details gave him a much better sense of how all the pieces connect. Having that foundation, even if it's not your core job, makes you way more effective, helps your decision-making.
And that great story about the massively over-ordered custom-to-go bags, it perfectly shows how working both upstairs and downstairs gave him a more complete picture. How can we get those different perspectives in our own fields?
Yeah, it really drives home the value of seeing different sides of the operation firsthand. Stepping outside your usual role, even just observing other areas, gives you that holistic view. You see how everything fits, the challenges, the opportunities across the whole system. Maybe actively look for ways to collaborate or even shadow colleagues in other departments.
He talks about the importance of building that strong foundation, trusting the process lessons from Hayati and how that helped him manage later on. Key takeaway for new leaders.
That patience, that focus on mastering the basics, understanding the workflows, it proved incredibly valuable as he moved up. For leaders, it highlights making sure your team has the fundamentals down and trusting the processes you set up. That lets you delegate effectively, focus on the bigger picture.
His return to the dining room as an AGM and his excitement about boosting profitability, it connects providing great experiences with financial success. Not always a trade-off, is it?
No, definitely not. They're often deeply linked. Great guest experiences build loyalty, drive repeat business, positive word of mouth, which directly boosts the bottom line. Investing in those relationships is smart business.
But then you get the flip side frustration with corporate interference, perfectly shown by the vase incident.
Ah, the vase.
Classic. It really highlights that potential disconnect between high-level strategy and on-the-ground reality, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a classic problem when decisions get made from afar. Without fully understanding the day-to-day impact, especially on the customer experience, it really emphasizes needing open communication between levels and empowering the people closest to the customer to make decisions that actually enhance things for them.
And the tough situation with firing Felix, then HR reversing it without even talking to local management, that drives home the point that we put employees first has to mean all employees, including managers. What happens to morale when that breaks down?
Oh, that situation just perfectly shows how critical trust and empowerment are at every level. When managers feel undermined, like their decisions don't matter, it crushes morale. They can't lead effectively. It's a huge reminder that empowering your managers, supporting their calls, is essential for a strong, engaged team. Disempowerment just shuts people down.
This leads to a really practical concept, the rule of 955 for budgeting. Spending disciplinedly on 95% of operations, but setting aside 5% specifically for those extraordinary, unexpected guest moments. How could that flexible approach work elsewhere?
It's about finding that sweet spot, right? Being financially responsible, but also strategically investing in those unreasonable moments that make you stand out, create lasting positive feelings. For anyone, it might mean thinking about how you use your resources, time, budget, effort, and maybe carving out a small piece just to create unexpectedly great experiences for clients, colleagues, whoever.
And that lovely example of the Spanish family seeing snow for the first time, it really hints at the magic that 5% can create, being tuned in to those unique chances.
Exactly. It's about being present, observing, spotting those moments where a small, thoughtful gesture can make a truly memorable emotional impact. It doesn't have to cost a fortune, but it needs attention and the willingness to act.
Okay, let's talk about the actual space at 11 Madison Park. He describes the architecture, high ceilings, terrazzo floors, those big windows onto Madison Square Park. It sounds like the place itself created a sense of occasion. How much does the physical environment shape an experience?
Oh, hugely. The physical space definitely sets a tone. Architecture, design, they can convey history, grandeur, comfort, all contributing to how people feel in that space. It's worth thinking about the impact of our own surroundings, office, home, whatever, on our mindset and how others experience being there.
And the backstory of him taking the GM job there, his dad's advice about being there for the company when needed, leading to that one-year commitment, but with the condition of getting to work at Shake Shack later, that's a mix of loyalty and ambition, isn't it?
Yeah, it shows being willing to support the organization, but also thinking strategically about his own growth, exploring different parts of the business. It highlights being open to opportunities, even if they're not your first choice, because they can lead to unexpected learning and future doors opening.
He mentions being nervous about moving into fine dining, partly because of that perceived hierarchy, the chef being supreme, the kitchen-dining room divide. That's a common view, right? How do you break down those silos?
It is a pretty traditional dynamic in many places. Breaking down takes conscious effort, fostering mutual respect, understanding between teams, often involves creating chances for cross-functional work, shared goals, recognizing that success depends on everyone working together smoothly. Maybe you think about potential silos where you work. How could you build more bridges?
So that key conversation with Daniel Boulud in the Dominican bar, where he explicitly said he wanted a true partnership, valuing the dining room equally with the kitchen. That was crucial for setting a different leadership tone at EMP, wasn't it? How important is that direct communication?
Absolutely fundamental. Laying the groundwork for a more collaborative, equitable partnership required that honesty. Clearly stating expectations, fostering open dialogue, essential for strong working relationships anywhere. It underscores proactively addressing potential imbalances and pushing for a shared vision.
And from those talks came their first mission statement, to be the four-star restaurant for the next generation. That speaks volumes about wanting to redefine fine dining, not just uphold tradition. What's the value of a clear, ambitious mission like that?
Well, a clear, compelling mission acts like a guiding star, right? It spells out the big purpose, inspires everyone towards a common goal. Having a defined mission for a team or even just your own work provides focus, motivation, direction. And the next generation part highlights being forward-thinking, adapting.
But initially, even with that ambition, things were inconsistent at EMP, down to how to carry a tray correctly. It shows a clear vision isn't enough. You need alignment, training on execution, right? What does that tell us about process?
Exactly. A great vision has to translate into clear, consistent standards on the ground. If the team isn't aligned on basics, delivering an exceptional experience consistently is just impossible. It underscores needing well-defined processes and making sure everyone's trained and on the same page.
And with the menu changing so fast, it must have been tough for the front of house to absorb and confidently explain all the details about new suppliers, the evolving wine list. How do organizations manage communication during rapid change?
Yeah, it highlights the absolute need for clear, consistent, ongoing communication, especially when things are shifting. Giving staff enough time and resources to learn is crucial for them to represent the offering well and talk to guests confidently. Maybe regular training, easy-to-access info, fostering a culture where questions are welcome.
Plus, just the sheer size of the place made it hard to consistently hit that four-star level, leading to service breakdowns, long waits, frustrated guests. The Welcome to the Jungle and Denny's stories really paint a picture of that internal stress. What's the lesson about matching capacity to ambition?
Those stories really hammer home the need for a realistic look at your operational capacity versus your service goals. When resources are stretched thin, the guest experience suffers, and internal stress skyrockets. It's about understanding your limits and making sure your ambitions are backed up by the necessary structure and staff.
Their first attempt to fix things with free champagne. Nice gesture, sure, but it didn't solve the deeper operational problems, like a Band-Aid on a bigger issue, right? What does that tell us about addressing root causes?
Exactly. Free stuff can smooth things over momentarily, but it doesn't fix the underlying systemic issues causing the problems. It's a reminder to dig deeper when problems pop up, find the root cause, and implement sustainable solutions, not just quick fixes.
He contrasts Christopher Stoer's confident first day speech with his own feeling back then of not having earned that same level of trust yet. That's very self-aware, isn't it? How is trust actually built in a team?
Trust is built over time, right? Through consistent actions, open communication, showing competence, genuinely caring about your team. It's earned through reliability, integrity. Pitfalls are inconsistency, lack of transparency, not following through. Leadership isn't just vision, it's building credibility to actions.
The later practice of managers spreading out during family meal to gather ideas. That's a smart, practical way to tap into the team's collective intelligence, isn't it? How can we create similar informal feedback loops?
Yeah, it fosters a more inclusive, collaborative vibe where everyone feels like they can contribute insights. Less formal settings often bring out perspectives you wouldn't get in structured meetings. Maybe encourage informal check-ins, open forums, or just be more present and approachable day to day.
He shares that story about his dad's unwanted platoon in Vietnam, then contrasts it with Eleazar, who flourished when moved into a role needing organization and leadership. Beautifully illustrates seeing individual strengths and thinking outside the box about roles.
Absolutely. It's about looking beyond job descriptions, recognizing the unique talents each person brings. By being observant, willing to experiment, you can unlock potential, create a more engaged, effective team. It's a reminder to really know your team members, identify strengths, even if they don't fit their current role perfectly.
Which leads perfectly into setting clear expectations and giving effective feedback. He mentions his organizational behavior class and the 1-minute manager. What are the key takeaways there for leaders?
Those emphasize core principles. Clearly define expectations so everyone knows the goal. Give timely, specific feedback focused on behavior, not personality. Praise good work publicly. Address areas for improvement quickly and privately. And consistency is key for fairness and predictability.
He really stresses making expectations crystal clear, then consistently holding people accountable while normalizing corrections but doing it fast and discreetly. Why is that combo of clarity and accountability so vital?
Clarity means everyone's on the same page about success. Consistent accountability reinforces that performance matters. And when corrections are swift and private, people can learn and improve without feeling shamed publicly. It fosters growth, not fear. It's about creating a framework where people know what's expected, how they're doing, and feel supported in improving.
His bad experience getting screamed at by a chef at Spago, that's a powerful lesson in how not to give feedback, right? What are the negative impacts of that style?
Oh, that kind of aggression is just damaging. It breeds fear, resentment, stifles creativity, kills open communication, undermines trust and psychological safety. People focus on avoiding blame, not taking risks or learning. It's a stark reminder. Feedback needs respect and a focus on constructive improvement. Always.
And he emphasizes how crucial consistent leadership is for creating that feeling of safety and stability. When people know what to expect from their leader, it lowers anxiety, doesn't it? How can leaders build that reliability?
Consistency means aligning words and actions, being predictable in responses, applying rules fairly. It creates stability, letting people focus on work without constantly guessing the leader's reaction. It's about being mindful of your own behavior, providing that steady presence.
The point about apologizing when you mess up the delivery of feedback, not the feedback itself, but how it was given, that's subtle but important, isn't it? Why is that leader accountability so powerful for trust?
It shows humility, right? Taking responsibility for your actions, even with good intentions. Acknowledging flawed delivery respects the other person's feelings, builds psychological safety, makes them more open to future feedback. It shows you value the relationship and want to communicate effectively.
Their phased approach to teaching wine knowledge basics first, then details like microclimates later, seems like a smart way to build expertise without overwhelming people. How can we use that progressive learning model elsewhere?
Yeah, that scaffolding approach, core principles first, then building complexity is super effective. People get a solid foundation before tackling intricate details, prevents overwhelm, fosters deeper understanding. You can break down complex skills or knowledge into manageable stages for any team.
And implementing those bi-weekly food and wine tests, a very direct way to ensure accountability after setting clear expectations. What are other ways to check learning and reinforce accountability?
Besides tests, you could use peer teaching, practical demos, scenario exercises, maybe short quizzes in meetings. Key is finding methods that are engaging, relevant, and let people show their understanding while reinforcing learning. Think about what fits your context best.
His opening speech to the team laying out the huge ambition, best in NYC, but also offering an exit for those not fully committed that feels like a bold, transparent move. What are the pros and cons of being that direct?
Well, the pro is clarity. Everyone knows the vision, the commitment needed, and can make an informed choice. Leads to a more aligned, motivated team. The potential con. Some might feel pressured or intimidated, so it's about balancing transparency with empathy, delivering the message in a way that inspires, not discourages.
He comes back to putting the restaurant first, echoing Christopher Storer, underscores that individual efforts need to serve the bigger collective goal.
Exactly. That shared understanding, prioritizing the organization's overall success, helps align everyone's efforts and decisions. It fosters that sense of shared purpose.
And then he shares his own discomfort training at the Modern, coming from a casual cafe, feeling the skepticism from fine dining staff, highlights that even within the same company, cultures and biases can exist, right? How do we navigate that?
Yeah, it underscores needing to recognize and respect different backgrounds and experiences. Navigating that means fostering open communication, empathy, understanding, creating chances for different teams to collaborate and learn from each other. Actively break down perceived barriers, promote mutual respect and shared learning.
Okay, let's talk about how they started challenging fine dining traditions. Cooks running food, kneeling to present dishes. Quite a shift from rigid formality like Le Pavillon. What was the thinking there?
It was a very conscious effort to prioritize the guest experience, make it more personal, more engaging. Having the chefs who know the food intimately present adds connection, storytelling. Kneeling was about respect, attentiveness. It's about questioning norms in your own field, right? Being willing to try things that serve the customer better, even if it breaks the mold.
His focus was clearly on hospitality, making guests feel welcome, even if it meant bending or breaking established rules. Tradition should serve hospitality, not the other way around. How do we prioritize that human connection over rigid rules?
It's about always keeping the human element front and center. Rules and processes matter, but they should ultimately serve the goal of a positive, meaningful experience. It means being flexible, empathetic, willing to find creative solutions or make exceptions when it enhances connection without ditching essential principles.
The contrast between the traditional, difficult-to-make canellas as a goodbye gift versus the more guest-friendly granola. That's a great example of shifting focus from what we value to what the customer might actually enjoy. How do we get better attuned to our customers' real needs?
It takes conscious effort, right? To step outside our own assumptions and truly understand their perspective. Active listening, seeking feedback, being willing to adapt what we offer to better match their preferences. It's about cultivating empathy, continuously trying to understand the people we interact with.
He stresses building a great team meant consciously hiring for attitude, for a hospitality philosophy over just fine dining experience, specifically to avoid ingrained bad habits. What signals a positive service-oriented attitude in hiring?
Look for genuine enthusiasm, empathy, good communication skills, a proactive willingness to help. Pay attention to their curiosity, how they connect, examples of going above and beyond before, regardless of the industry. Focusing on those inherent qualities can predict success better than just prior experience sometimes.
And their principle of hiring people with the potential to be among the top performers. That sets a high bar from day one, doesn't it? How do you spot that high potential?
Identifying potential often means looking for strong learning agility, a growth mindset, a proactive problem-solving approach, a clear drive to improve. Asking about challenges they've overcome, how they sought development opportunities gives insight. It's looking beyond current skills to their capacity for future growth.
He also stresses the absolute need for team members to have each other's back. In a high-pressure place like that, mutual support must be critical, right? How do leaders foster that cohesion and trust?
Absolutely critical. In any demanding setting, strong team cohesion, mutual support are essential for tackling challenges, hitting goals. Leaders foster it by promoting open communication, encouraging collaboration, celebrating team wins, creating a culture where people feel safe taking risks and asking for help. Actively build that culture of trust and interdependence.
This shift in culture, needing more commitment, led to using those food and wine tests to identify who is really ready for the challenge. What are the ethical considerations when using measures like that to gauge commitment?
Well, when using assessments, it's crucial they're fair, transparent, directly relevant to the job's skills and knowledge. And you need to provide support for people to prepare and develop. The goal should be growth and development, not just weeding people out. Clear communication about the purpose and process is essential.
He mentions the initial difficulty embedding the new culture because of lingering negativity, even with energetic new hires, really shows that significant culture change doesn't happen overnight. Needs sustained effort, right?
Exactly. Culture change is gradual. Needs consistent effort, clear communication, ongoing reinforcement of the desired values and behaviors. Just stating new principles isn't enough. Leaders have to model them, integrate them into daily operations. Patience and persistence are key for driving cultural shifts.
He contrasts overly rigid, synchronized service with a more practical approach focused on a seamless guest experience. It's about the outcome for the guest, not just flawless choreography, isn't it? How do we ensure processes serve the goal, not become the goal itself?
It's about constantly evaluating processes from the end user's perspective, the guest, in this case. Regularly ask, is this really enhancing the experience or just rigid tradition? Be willing to adapt or ditch processes that aren't adding value or are hindering the outcome. Keep the focus on the ultimate goal and be flexible in how you get there.
The changing conversations during family meals, shifting from personal stuff to enthusiastic talks about guest experiences, hospitality nuances, that's a powerful sign of real cultural transformation, isn't it? What other subtle signs indicate a positive culture shift?
Other signs could be increased collaboration, more proactive improvement suggestions, a greater sense of ownership and pride in work, more positive interactions with customers or clients. Paying attention to those shifts in behavior and communication gives valuable insight into your team culture's health.
And ultimately, at EMP, it became genuinely cool to care. That simple phrase captures a huge shift in team norms and values, doesn't it? When caring about the guest experience is admired, you know you've made real progress.
It truly does. Signifies deep internalization of core values, a shared commitment to exceptional hospitality. When caring becomes part of the team's identity, something they're proud of, that's a powerful, sustainable cultural shift.
Okay, let's explore working with purpose and fostering collaboration. He shares that story about the Miles Davis quote in a review in Daniel's Confusion, highlighting the difference between surface understanding and grasping the deeper essence. How do we get beyond just words to the spirit behind ideas?
It takes deeper inquiry, reflection, asking why, understanding the context, the intent, the underlying values. It's about encouraging critical thinking, open dialogue to ensure a shared, meaningful understanding within teams.
Inspired by companies like Nordstrom and Apple, they started strategic planning sessions, pretty novel in the restaurant world then. For an industry often seen as reactive, that must have been a big mindset shift. What are the benefits of a strategic approach, even in seemingly tactical businesses?
Bringing a strategic lens allows for a more proactive, intentional approach to long-term growth, sustainability. Define clear goals, spot opportunities, challenges, develop a roadmap. Even in daily operations, taking time for strategic thinking leads to better decisions, better outcomes.
The key realization was involving the whole team in goal setting would increase ownership and generate richer ideas than just top-down directives. What does that say about inclusive leadership?
It underscores the immense value of tapping into the collective intelligence, the creativity of your entire team. When people feel they have a voice in shaping direction, they're way more likely to be engaged, committed, invested in hitting those shared goals. Inclusive leadership fosters ownership, empowers individuals to contribute unique perspectives.
Those planning sessions evolved into collaborative brainstorming, where the team collectively decided the year's objectives.
That sounds very democratic, empowering. How do you facilitate effective brainstorming, ensure everyone's heard?
Effective brainstorming needs a safe, open environment where all ideas are welcome, no judgment. Techniques like round-robin sharing, visual aids, allowing both individual reflection and group discussion help ensure everyone contributes. The key is facilitating in a way that encourages participation, values diverse perspectives.
He recounts that first year's big question, what do we want to embody? And out came their 4 core words: education, passion, excellence, hospitality. Having clear, concise values must have provided a powerful framework for everything after. How do we define and embed core values?
Defining core values usually involves collaboration, reflection, discussion about what principles matter most to the team or organization's identity purpose. Once defined, they need consistent communication, modeling by leaders, integration into daily decisions and behaviors to truly stick. Make them more than just words on a wall. Live and breathe them. He points out the potential conflict between striving for pure excellence and prioritizing genuine hospitality and their conscious choice to embrace both, referencing Roger Martin's integrative thinking. Can you explain that concept briefly and why it was relevant here?
Yeah, absolutely. Integrative thinking is basically holding 2 opposing ideas in your mind simultaneously. And instead of just picking one, finding a creative way to reconcile them, come up with a new, better solution. For EMP, it wasn't choosing excellence or hospitality. It was finding innovative ways to be both at the same time, realizing they could actually boost each other. It's looking for those and solutions, not either.
That story about the Cornell grad wanting to leave the industry really highlights the importance of genuine passion, loving the work itself, doesn't it? How can leaders help teams find or cultivate that intrinsic motivation?
Leaders can foster passion by connecting individual roles to the larger purpose and impact, providing growth opportunities, recognizing contributions, creating a positive, supportive environment. Help your team see why their work matters. Create a space where they feel valued and inspired.
And the powerful idea that everyone, regardless of role, can make a difference, plus the need for both individuals and leaders to understand why their work matters, that speaks directly to purpose-driven work, right?
Absolutely. When individuals see how their contributions fit the bigger picture, feel a sense of purpose, they're far more likely to be engaged, motivated, go the extra mile. For leaders, clearly articulating the organization's purpose and helping teams connect daily tasks to that larger mission is incredibly powerful.
He describes the positive energy after that first strategic planning meeting. Really shows the power of collective vision and shared goals in galvanizing a team.
It truly does. When a team feels heard, valued, aligned around a common purpose, it creates powerful momentum, enthusiasm, highlights the importance of creating opportunities for collective input, shared vision building.
And the simple act of journaling for inspired ideas, a great reminder of personal reflection and having a system to capture those fleeting insights.
Totally. Journaling can be a great tool for processing thoughts, capturing ideas, fostering creativity, provides space for reflection, helps connect disparate thoughts. Worth considering incorporating some form of regular reflection.
They also studied other successful fine dining places, not to copy, but to learn and adapt best practices. Speaks to continuous learning, looking outside your own bubble for inspiration.
Observing and learning from others excelling in your field is essential for continuous improvement. Identify new approaches, adapt successful strategies, avoid pitfalls. Staying curious, seeking examples of excellence, is a powerful driver of innovation.
Okay, let's get into how they fostered innovation and empowerment. One example is evolving beverage pairings beyond just wine, recognizing craft beer or other drinks. Shows willingness to adapt, broaden horizons.
Yeah, it demonstrates being proactive, recognizing changing tastes, expanding offerings, highlights the importance of staying attuned to trends in your own industry, being willing to adapt your approach.
And acknowledging even top wine directors might not know everything about all beverages, open doors for other passionate team members. Great example of recognizing diverse talents.
Right. Understanding expertise comes from various sources. Empowering individuals with genuine passion and knowledge in specific areas, even outside traditional roles, means looking for those pockets of expertise, giving individuals autonomy to lead there.
The story of Kirk taking over the beer program, given a budget, autonomy, leading to EMP getting recognized for its beer. Fantastic illustration of empowerment in action, isn't it?
Absolutely is. Giving Kirk resources and freedom to pursue his passion not only created a standout beer program, but fostered ownership, pride in him. And like you said, his passion was contagious, benefiting everyone. Think about where you can give team members more autonomy and see what happens.
Then the challenge to create a cocktail program rivaling PDT despite time constraints in a busy restaurant. His father saying success comes in cans, failure comes in cans, captures that mindset of overcoming limits. How do we cultivate that can-do attitude?
That mantra embodies possibility, right? Encourages focusing on what we can do, not dwelling on limits. Cultivating it means fostering belief in the team's ability, celebrating small wins, reframing setbacks as learning opportunities. Encourage a proactive, solution-oriented approach, not negativity.
And Leo Robichek, the bartender, also in med school, playing a key role, again, highlights empowering individuals with unique skills and drive.
His diverse background brought a unique perspective, high dedication. Recognizing his talent, giving him the chance to lead, got remarkable results. Reminder that talent is everywhere. Supporting individual passions leads to great things.
Jim Meehan's influence, elevating even coffee service into something engaging, educational, underscores that every customer touchpoint is a chance for a positive, memorable interaction, right?
Absolutely. Shows attention to detail, enhancing the guest experience, can apply to everything, even routine stuff like coffee. Look for those often overlooked opportunities to elevate the experience you provide.
Which leads to the win-win-win framework, ensuring any change benefits the employee, the guest, and the business. Great litmus test for ideas, isn't it? How do we apply that holistic thinking?
Encourages a comprehensive approach, right? Considering all key stakeholders. Evaluating actions through that lens leads to more sustainable, mutually beneficial choices. Ask yourself, how will this impact my team, my clients' customers, and the organization's overall success?
He shares Steve Ells' philosophy at Chipotle, empowering in-house employees to make fresher food. Again, trusting the team closest to the work.
Empowering those directly involved often leads to better quality, efficiency, innovation. They have firsthand knowledge. Recognize the expertise within your own teams.
And the idea that mentoring employees into ownership ultimately made leaders' jobs easier. Valuable perspective on leadership development, right? Investing in your team benefits everyone.
By developing their skills, knowledge, confidence, you create a more capable, self-sufficient team. Lets you delegate more, focus on higher-level strategy. View leadership as cultivating future leaders.
The benefits of hourly staff leading pre-meal briefings, presenting at happy hour, team education, inspiration, and better public speaking skills. A win on so many levels.
Provided valuable development, built confidence, enhanced communication skills, all while contributing to a more informed, engaged team. Think about creating similar opportunities for your team to step outside comfort zones, develop new skills.
He even mentions his own public speaking class at Cornell, the tell them what you're going to tell them principle. Those basic communication skills are so critical everywhere.
Effective communication is just a cornerstone of leadership, professional success. Clearly articulating ideas, engaging your audience is essential for conveying vision, inspiring action. Continuously honing communication skills is a valuable investment.
And he stresses public speaking is a vital leadership skill for communicating excitement, passion, purpose. When leaders articulate the why, it's much more motivating, isn't it?
Absolutely. Conveying enthusiasm, the underlying purpose, is crucial for inspiring your team, getting buy-in, encouraging their best efforts. Think about how you can more effectively communicate your own passion and purpose.
The positive impact of those team-led meetings on their communication with guests, their authority with colleagues. Shows how empowering your team has ripple effects across the whole organization.
Fosters ownership, strengthens the team's ability to interact effectively with customers and each other. When team members feel empowered, knowledgeable, it translates into more confident, engaging interactions all around. Create a culture where everyone feels equipped and authorized to contribute meaningfully.
Finally, the clever approach of mandatory collaboration for new reservationists from day one, tasking them with immediately improving the office, sends a powerful message. Your contributions matter from the start. What are other ways to onboard effectively, make people feel they can contribute right away?
It's about creating a welcoming, inclusive environment where new hires feel empowered to share ideas, use their skills immediately. Clear expectations, resources, connection opportunities help them integrate quickly, feel like valuable contributors. Think about how your onboarding can actively solicit input, show new perspectives, or welcome.
Now we get into the relentless pursuit of excellence. The huge anticipation around Frank Bruni's New York Times review, aiming for that coveted 3-star status, must have been intense pressure. How do you maintain that focus over time?
Yeah, the stakes were incredibly high. Getting 3 stars from the Times was huge validation in NYC. Maintaining focus often means breaking big goals into smaller steps, celebrating milestones, constantly reinforcing the big vision. Create sustainable rhythms, practices for long-term dedication.
He points out even the earlier 2-star reviews, while not the goal, were powerful catalysts for change, self-reflection. Sometimes falling short provides the best motivation, right?
Absolutely. Setbacks, near misses, give invaluable feedback, fuel renewed commitment, reframe them as learning opportunities, not just failures. And as he said, for them, it was go time.
His funny confession about his own perfectionism, those detailed anecdotes, many of us relate. How can being meticulous be both a strength and a weakness?
Well, meticulousness is great for high standards, attention to detail leading to quality. But it can become a weakness if it leads to micromanaging, slows things down, creates stress. Find the balance where detail enhances the outcome without hurting progress or morale.
He realized his fastidiousness became a superpower during that intense pre-review period. Let them fine-tune everything meticulously. How can we spot our own seemingly small traits that might be hidden strengths?
Often involves self-awareness, understanding how your unique tendencies can be leveraged. What seems minor could be a key differentiator, a source of strength when applied strategically. Reflect on your patterns, consider how they might be valuable.
He makes a crucial point. You can show a critic your best version, but you can't fundamentally become something you're not. Authenticity, consistency eventually show. What's that tell us about building real excellence versus a facade?
Ultimately, success not built on genuine quality, consistent practices, isn't sustainable. Critics, customers, see through artifice eventually. Focus on building enduring value, authentic quality in whatever you do.
So those months before the review were this intense drive for perfection in every single element. Kitchen precision, dining room communication, crisp uniforms, menu knowledge. Sounds exhausting, but clearly paid off. What's the role of that intense focus?
That level of intense focus, dedication can be a powerful catalyst for exceptional results, especially towards a clear goal. Lets you push boundaries, refine skills, elevate every aspect, identify those critical moments where that concentrated effort makes a real difference.
He makes an interesting connection. Pursuing excellence actually made them more hospitable by freeing up mental energy. When operations run flawlessly, the team can be more present, engaged with guests.
Counterintuitive, right? How does that work? When foundational service elements are precise, efficient, it reduces stress, lets the team operate more intuitively, frees up mental bandwidth to focus fully on individual guest needs, preferences, leads to more genuine, personalized interactions. Streamlining your own processes can help you be more present too.
Even small things like lighting, playlists needed innovation. Simply being more excellent traditionally wouldn't solve creating the right atmosphere. Shows excellence sometimes requires thinking outside the box.
Exactly. True innovation often means looking beyond convention, finding creative solutions, recognizing sometimes the answer is doing things differently, not just doing the same things better. Be open to unconventional solutions for persistent challenges.
He shares that insight about time perception during a meal, slower at the start and end, making those moments crucial for setting the tone, leaving a lasting impression. Universal observation, right? How can we apply that in other interactions?
Highlights making initial and final touch points really positive, efficient. A client meeting, a phone call. The beginning sets the stage, the ending leaves the lasting impression. Focus on a strong, welcoming start and a gracious, memorable finish.
Even subtle things like discrete hand signals for water preferences. Tiny detail, but contributes to that seamless, intuitive service. All about anticipating needs without being intrusive.
It's creating that sense of effortless, personalized service through thoughtful detail, subtle communication. Goal is anticipating needs proactively, without being obvious or disruptive. Think about small, nonverbal cues you can use.
The issue of too many staff creating chaos, not attentiveness, and their solution of choreographed movements for synchronized service, almost like ballet, shows efficiency isn't just numbers, it's effective teamwork.
Absolutely. True efficiency comes from well-coordinated teamwork, clear roles. More people doesn't automatically mean better service, can be counterproductive. Focus on optimizing workflow, ensuring clear communication and coordination.
And that detail, intentionally placing the plate's manufacturer stamp facing up, even though most guests wouldn't notice, he calls it a symbolic gesture of intention, setting the tone. That's next-level attention. What's the power of those symbolic acts?
Those seemingly small, intentional actions have a powerful impact on team culture, mindset, signal commitment to excellence in every detail. For any team, these kinds of symbolic acts reinforce values, set a high standard.
He concludes that by setting the dining room with such intention, they controlled what they could, making them less thrown off by the unexpected. Valuable mindset for any high-pressure situation, isn't it?
Absolutely. Focusing on elements you can influence, building a strong foundation of preparedness, builds resilience, adaptability to unforeseen challenges. Focus energy on controllables. Don't get overwhelmed by what you can't change.
Now, the pivotal moment. Bruni's review day. The electric atmosphere, the cheers when the 4-star news came. Incredible culmination of all that work.
Yeah, ultimate validation of their vision, their relentless pursuit. And the headline, "A Daring Rise to the Top," really captured their journey, the transformation.
And Bruni describing their gradual improvement, that unique magnitude of enchantment compared to other 3 stars, must have been incredibly rewarding to read.
Profound affirmation of their unique approach, exceptional food, plus genuine hospitality culture. Confirmed their focus on both had truly resonated.
Danny Meyer's superstition about the celebratory T-shirts, a nice touch of human realism.
Yeah, reminder that even in great success, there's humility, maybe playful superstition, adds a human element.
He paints that great picture,
Yeah.
aftermath of the party, mess outside, but inside, the dining room immaculate, ready for 4-star service, speaks volumes about their professionalism.
Really highlights their deep commitment to standards, regardless of excitement or the hour. True dedication to craft and guests.
But then an interesting internal shift. Some staff felt 4 stars meant needing to be more serious, less informal, like the pressure of a new expectation. How do you navigate that after success?
Crucial to reinforce the core values that led to the success. Remind the team what made them special. Authenticity, genuine connection are essential. Celebrate achievements while reaffirming foundational culture and approach.
Reassuring that Bruni himself kept championing their comfortable, informal style even after giving 4 stars. Validated their unique approach, encouraged staying true.
Reinforced that success comes in different styles. Staying authentic can be a key differentiator. Gave them confidence in their path.
However, that also created a conundrum. The informality that won the accolade now felt maybe less appropriate to some, given the new perception. Navigating those evolving expectations must have been delicate.
Highlights the ongoing need to manage expectations, communicate clearly about brand identity, understand how success is perceived, ensure internal culture stays aligned with external image while staying true to core values.
He notes the team's youth sometimes surprised guests, and their decision not to change who they were to fit a preconceived notion. Again, that emphasis on authenticity, genuine connection.
Maintaining that genuine connection, authentic personality was clearly a priority. Recognizing it was key to their appeal. Reminder that trying to be something you're not can detract from success.
He shares that brief story from Tribeca Grill, observing servers always one step ahead. Illustrates a different kind of being present, maybe more focused on hyper-efficient, anticipatory service. Shows presence manifests differently.
Exactly. Being present isn't just physical. It's mental engagement, attunement to needs and cues. Can translate to proactive anticipation or relaxed conversation, depending on context. Understand the different ways you can be fully present.
Then comes a moment of humility. The wave of embarrassment at coming in last 50th on the world's 50 best list in 2010. A real wake-up call after the NYT high.
Yeah, stark reminder that different accolades have different criteria, always room for growth, regardless of past wins. Powerful motivator to reevaluate, strive higher.
He opened the next team meeting with his dad's favorite quote. clearly setting a tone of resilience, recommitment, shows leadership framing setbacks as growth opportunities.
Absolutely. Effective leadership reframes challenges, inspires learning and improvement, fosters continuous growth, belief in future success. And he emphasizes the power of that collective decision among talented people to push forward.
He points out that when they started down the unreasonable hospitality path, they didn't have all the answers, just a sense of the goal, that crucial start pushing mentality. What's the power in acting without a perfect map?
Immense power in taking initiative, learning by doing. Waiting for perfect clarity often means inaction, missed opportunities. Start pushing, encourages experimentation, learning from mistakes, letting the vision evolve. Embrace a bias for action.
They implemented the reconnaissance Googling names to greet guests personally, the hidden anchor system for seating without a podium. Talk about going the extra mile for personalized, seamless experience. How can we find similar details?
Those details show real commitment to making each guest feel seen, valued. It's about being observant, gathering relevant info appropriately, using insights to personalize interactions, anticipate needs, make people feel they matter.
Emphasizing personal touch, extended to confirmation calls, noting special occasions, preferences. Proactive approach sets the stage for exceptional service, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Proactively gathering info empowers you and your team to personalize from the start. Shows you're anticipating needs, invested in making their experience special, and the added service steps driven by try harder, like the Avis tagline.
The underlying desire. Remove the transactional feel from the welcome and farewell. Aim for a more holistic, gracious interaction. How do we build relationships, not just complete transactions?
Shift mindset from purely functional exchange to prioritizing rapport, understanding the individual, active listening, showing genuine interest, focusing on creating a positive, memorable connection. Build relationships beyond the immediate transaction.
The bold move to a menu list and only the main ingredient. Forcing conversation with the server, giving kitchen flexibility, significant departure. What was the strategy behind that abstract approach?
Deliberate effort to foster interaction, dialogue between guests and team, allowed for more personalized, dynamic dining. As Oliver Strand's article said, fixing what isn't broke. Challenging conventions, creating intrigue, engagement.
And the core idea was proper dialogue, willingness to accommodate guests not feeling the listed ingredient, needing huge kitchen flexibility, embodies unreasonable in the best way.
It really does. Profound commitment to putting guest preference first, even if it means going way beyond the standard menu, being adaptable, willing to create a truly tailored experience.
Then the brilliant street hot dog moment, inspired by overhearing guests missing that NYC experience despite fine dining. Perfect example of paying attention, creating a spontaneous, memorable legend.
Beautifully illustrates blowing someone's mind doesn't always need extravagance. Sometimes the most impactful moments come from being attentive to desires, going the extra mile thoughtfully. He contrasts the simple hot dog with the fancy Spago chair attention, not expense, resonates.
They started actively cultivating these magical moments, being hyper-attentive to conversations, finding chances to personalize unexpectedly.
Became a conscious effort, right? Moving beyond standard service, actively looking for ways to create genuine delight, surprise, based on observation and conversation.
And Christy McGrath became the first official Dreamweaver dedicated role for orchestrating these personalized experiences. Love that title. What's the value in dedicating a role to this?
Formalizing it underscored their deep commitment to these legendary moments, provided dedicated focus, resources to make them happen consistently, effectively. And the Gary Wright song Inspiration adds that nice personal touch.
The examples of elaborate legends, pastoral scene for a hunting chef, teddy bear from kitchen towels, mock airplane cabin, so imaginative, shows incredible creativity effort.
Truly went above and beyond. Unique, memorable experiences tailored to individual interests. And as he wisely says, the true gift wasn't the object, but the story, the feeling it created.
The energy around these legends within the team must have been amazing. Sounds like a real source of creative fulfillment.
Provided an outlet for creativity for the entire team, not just the kitchen, fostered shared excitement, purpose in creating these moments of wonder, became a really positive, infectious part of the culture.
And the idea that creating these moments became almost addictive for the team. Powerful motivator, isn't it? That positive feedback loop of creating joy.
Absolutely. Seeing the joy, delight on guests' faces became a powerful intrinsic reward, drove the team to continually find new creative ways to enhance the experience.
They even pulled out all the stops for their own team members dining there, often exceeding regular guest service. Fantastic way to show appreciation, embody the hospitality they delivered. And he asks why more companies don't invest in their own people like that.
Reinforces the value placed on their team. Gave them firsthand experience of unreasonable hospitality. Powerful way to show appreciation, build loyalty from within.
This leads to improvisational hospitality, reacting in the moment to info gathered or overheard details. The priceless calamari at Roof's Chris example.
It's about being present, responsive, seizing unexpected opportunities based on real-time observations.
Okay.
Requires a team empowered and trusted to make those judgment calls.
And proactively, plussing one, the experience by anticipating recurring situations, mini to-go cups for smokers, Tiffany flutes for engagements. Thoughtful touches add up, create a sense of being understood.
Demonstrate foresight, attention to detail beyond standard service. Shows you're thinking ahead, anticipating needs, creating a more seamless, personalized experience.
He points out opportunities for this exist everywhere, not just restaurants, real estate, car sales. Identifying moments where an unexpected gesture creates a lasting impression. And empowering salespeople turns them into product designers of experiences.
Really broadens the principles beyond traditional hospitality. Shows how they integrate into any customer-facing business. Empowering your team to be creative, resourceful, and serving clients leads to innovative, memorable experiences.
And the key takeaway: always be looking for that legend opportunity, the chance to create a truly remarkable experience for loyal customers, cultivating deeper relationships.
Absolutely. Building strong relationships, consistently looking for ways to go above and beyond for valued customers is essential for long-term loyalty, positive word of mouth, turn customers into advocates.
Okay, let's explore extending this culture beyond EMP. He discusses the decline of the luxurious hotel restaurant, the trend of separating hotel and restaurant management.
Yeah, it became a bit outdated, often feeling less like destinations. Separating management allowed more specialized expertise, focus on the restaurant's distinct needs.
The opportunity with Andrew Zobler and Ace Hotel for the Nomad revitalizing the Grand Hotel concept, making the restaurant integral, sounds exciting, ambitious, especially with that vision of Escoffier's grandeur and rejuvenating a neighborhood.
Chance to reimagine classic Grand Hotel dining for modern times, contribute to revitalizing part of the city. The shared vision of high standards, exceptional hospitality was key.
Opening Nomad was a big step, but challenging, needing to transplant EMP's culture to a new operation. He uses the sophomore album analogy, pressure to get it right, especially under NYT scrutiny.
Crucial test of scaling their culture, replicating success elsewhere. Pressure was definitely on to show their approach worked beyond the flagship.
Their creative approach to designing Nomad, developing a fictional character guide, encouraging imaginative brainstorming, unique, collaborative way to foster innovative design. How can creative prompts help elsewhere?
Using fictional characters, other prompts can break conventional thinking, encourage imaginative, unconventional ideas, provides a different lens, creates a more playful, less inhibited brainstorming environment. Consider similar frameworks to spark innovation.
He highlights the collaborative, exploratory nature of Nomad design meetings, a safe space where even silly ideas were welcomed. Importance of psychological safety for creativity.
Absolutely crucial. When people feel safe expressing unconventional ideas without fear of judgment, it fosters creativity, innovation, allows experimentation, exploration of ideas that might otherwise be suppressed. Actively creating that safe space is essential.
He shares the emotional response to the positive 3-star NYT review for Nomad, contrasting it with EMP's gradual journey. Shows building from scratch with a clear vision can have immediate impact sometimes.
The Nomad was intentionally designed, staffed with EMP culture from day one. Allowed faster establishment of standards, experience. Shows the power of clear vision, focused implementation.
Mentions the celebration Chef Magnus Nilsson attending, indicates real community, shared appreciation in the industry.
Underscores the strong connections, mutual respect in the culinary world, shared appreciation for excellence.
But then important feedback from Cheryl at USHG, over-involvement at Nomad, potentially neglecting EMP's team, pivotal self-awareness moment, importance of delegation, trusting your existing team. And his father's advice: keep your eyes peeled, listen, notice, learn.
Crucial reminder, even dedicated leaders need balance. Avoid spreading thin. Trusting, empowering your team is essential for sustainable success. And his dad's advice: stay present, Learn from every situation.
That feedback led to promoting Kirk Kellaway to GM at EMP, even though Will admits Kirk might not have been fully ready traditionally. Highlights recognizing potential, giving people a chance to step up before they feel totally prepared. Benefits of promoting on potential.
Promoting on potential unlocks hidden talents, fosters loyalty, growth, shows belief in employees, willingness to invest in development. Often people rise to the occasion when given the chance and support. Identify those with drive, aptitude, even without all traditional qualifications.
He shares examples of unconventional hospitality elsewhere. Fevikin's communal course, Mugaritz's interactive soup, broadening our view of Unreasonable.
Highlights the diverse, creative ways restaurants globally push dining boundaries, engage guests uniquely, memorably.
And the intriguing story of creating the magic trick at EMP with Theory 11 and Dan White. Unique, memorable way to create wonder. What can other industries learn from that creative approach?
Demonstrates the power of surprise, delight in creating truly memorable experiences, encourages thinking outside the box, exploring unconventional ways to engage your audience, leave a lasting positive impression. Consider unexpected creative elements in your interactions.
Even Pete Wells's grumpy then won over 4-star review of the reimagined EMP validated their commitment to delicious food and gracious hospitality, even if their mission statement was still complex.
Highlighted the effectiveness of their core strengths, exceptional food, outstanding hospitality, winning over even discerning critics. He inadvertently felt their mission even if they hadn't fully grasped it yet.
This led them back to basics, reaffirming their superpowers. The new simple mission: to be the most delicious and gracious restaurant in the world. So clear, concise, powerful impact of a straightforward mission.
Provides clear, easily understood guidance for the whole team. Focuses efforts, ensures alignment, memorable, aspirational, directly reflects core values. And his father's advice: don't run away from what you don't want, run toward what you do.
Returning to essentials meant simplifying some things while doubling down on hospitality, more Dreamweavers. Shows clear prioritization of what truly mattered.
Conscious decision to focus resources, energy on elements with greatest impact on guest experience, enhancing personalized, thoughtful service aspects.
And ultimately, returning to the meal as dialogue, inspired by Rao's no traditional menu, just conversation about preferences. Ultimate expression of personalized dining, unreasonable attention.
It truly is. Pinnacle of tailoring the entire experience to the individual guest. Creates a highly personalized, memorable interaction.
Finally, the incredible peak. #1 on the world's 50 best list in Melbourne, 2017. Extraordinary achievement, validation of their journey.
Ultimate recognition of their dedication, innovation, unwavering commitment on a global stage. He describes the celebration NPH emceeing, John Baptiste playing.
And in his bittersweet farewell to the EMP team, he stressed, unreasonable hospitality wasn't the space, but the people, their passion, dedication, the culture built together. Powerful reminder of where true business value lies.
Underscores the enduring power of human connection, shared commitment to caring for others as the true heart of hospitality.
He wraps up reiterating that remarkable power of giving teams and customers more than they expect, the choice to be unreasonable, inviting us all to join this hospitality economy. Inspiring end.
Indeed, very much so.
So as we wrap this deep dive on unreasonable hospitality, a few key things really stand out for you, our listener. We explored shifting from just transactions to real emotional connections.
The power of intention in every detail.
Right. Empowering teams, fostering collaboration, that relentless pursuit of excellence.
And always looking for chances to go above and beyond, create those meaningful experiences.
And like we've said, these ideas aren't just for restaurants, are they? Cultivating belonging, positive interactions through intentional hospitality, it applies almost anywhere human connection matters.
Absolutely. Think about your own day. Where could you add a bit more of this unreasonable approach?
So here's our final thought for you to chew on. How can you, in your daily life, your work, be more unreasonable with your hospitality? What small, intentional acts could create more meaningful connections, better experiences with those around you? Something definitely worth thinking about.
Indeed it is.
Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive into unreasonable hospitality. We really hope you found these ideas useful, thought-provoking, and we encourage you to explore them more, see how you can bring a little more unreasonable hospitality into your own world, maybe starting right now.